So, A&B is the greatest archive anyone could ever ask for.
You know, of all the books I've read, of all the other online tutorials I've seen, this was the missing key.
Every video is like packed with this information that I would never be able to get anywhere else. So I would say this is the greatest resource for learning animation.
For me, A&B Animation Library is hands down the best animation learning resource that I've seen. I've tried all the tutorials, I've gotten all the books. I've never been able to really grow until I found A&B.
And it's incredible. I've only just begun it, but I definitely am getting more from that than I did from my 1.5 years of college.
I've noticed definitely that my animation has improved a lot, and it's more alive than ever. And what I also like about this animation training is that you also gain real confidence.
Real Animator Training Library is unequivocally the best resource for animation, 2D animation, traditional hand-drawn animation that I've seen.
So I wholeheartedly recommend the A&B Real Animator Training Library to anybody who wants actual knowledge and actual applicable concepts to create their own animation and to move forward in the field of animation and to set your work above those that are just kind of teaching themselves and not learning these tried and true classic concepts.
A&B is motivated by his students' successes and improvements. He's a great teacher, a great animator with over 20 years experience in the industry, so you can't really get much better than that. I strongly recommend him to anybody.
I'm thinking on how to put in words what I feel about it. I love that. It approached me from my dream of becoming an animator. Every cent I paid in there was worth it.
I like that the library is structured. I can go back and watch it anytime I want to, and he's just got so much knowledge. And I just highly recommend it to anyone who's out there looking to learn traditional 2D animation.
So thank you, MB, so much, and thank you so much for all you done for me.
So, are you gonna join the library?
Hello, and welcome once again to another edition of A&B Animation Livestream. All right, so what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be continuing on the scene that I'm doing. I may as well share some animation tips and guidance to some of you people who aren't really sure about the difference between extreme frames and keyframes. And also we'll talk about breakdowns, talk a little bit about the timing chart, just go revisit some of those essential animation fundamentals today. So that's what we're going to be talking about as I tackle this next. It's a very simple scene, and I think that it'll be able to help you guys get a fuller understanding of how that all works. We have currently got some people live in the chat. We have got Zedbo. How are you doing? Hello to you. No, this is not a restream. This is a live stream. Whenever I restream content from the Real Animator Training Library, I sometimes write Real Animator Restream so that you guys will know that it's a restream. So this is certainly not a restream. Quinton Johnson, hello. And Franks Makes Movies, so good to see you, my friend. You have retracted your message before I could engage. So there we go. Right, without further ado, let us just change scenes. So I've got a double mic, I think. This is the mic that we want. So let me know if the sound is working. So I've been in the other live stream, I was showing you how I was roughing out certain poses, and now I've kind of drawn in all those poses in a very pose to pose manner. So we've got the pose here, pose here, pose here, pose here, pose here, pose here. These are all extreme poses, right? Extreme poses. This one I've in between. Now I'm going to go on and in between this. This is a very simple scene, okay? The butt is there and the butt's there, right? So this, because this is so simple, I figured that this is going to be a very easy explanation to you guys on how to do the law of pose to pose animation. We've got our two poses here. Now, there's a hierarchy. Everybody likes to talk about key animation, right? Key animation, right? We have got Love One Piece Forever. How are you? I don't care about Sora AI. Listen, AI is here to stay. Sora AI goes down, another one will come up. I honestly don't care, right? Whether AI is here, it's serving the people that use it, right? When I started doing hand-drawn animation, CGI came, right? CGI came, and a lot of hand-drawn animators became afraid of that, right? Then 2D puppet animation came with South Park, where you didn't even have to be able to draw anymore. Any person could pull off an animation. I think you're using the wrong mic because your mic quality is worse than usual. Can you hear me now? How's the mic now? Thank you. Can you hear me now? This is good interaction. How's my mic now? Let me know. Let me know if the mic has improved or not, and then I'll. Okay, awesome. Thank you. So the AI issue is no issue. It's completely, as I said, this is you, right? And this is your dreams, right? This is your hopes, your dreams, your fantasies, your goal, right? And all around you is all these other things, right? Maybe you may have to step over a few of them, but all you've got to do is kind of just relatively go in a straight line towards your goal. But, you know, AI could be like this big, terrifying shadow behind you, right? It's coming to get you. It's your shadow. It's following you everywhere, right? But the thing is you're not going to turn around and fight with your shadow, right? As I was doing hand-drawn animation, CGI came, as I was saying before we told about the mic. Then 2D rigs came. I had some respect for CGI. I got virtually zero respect for 2D rigs. And everybody was afraid, oh, my job's, hand-drawn, but I'm not going to get a job in the industry. A lot of people wouldn't have got a job anyway, but it's a procrastinating excuse. Forgive me for just being a little bit real, because that's my brand. So AI is just the next one. As somebody who can really draw and animate, I've seen it all. I've seen people, CGI animators, can't draw, right? They learned to use a tool to excuse the fact that they can't draw, right? And they can't animate, really, because a lot of the inbuilt squash and stretch, rigged muscle dynamics, texture, hair dynamics, wind dynamics, kind of does it all for them, right? So, yeah, arguably they can kind of animate creatures. They've studied, they put the work in, but not really, sorry, that's just my view. If that upsets people, CGIs weren't really, as far as I'm concerned, as from the perspective of an original hand-drawn animator, no. Okay, so what, but here it was, power was given to them, power, acclaim, authority, right? But here's the thing, you want to bend the knee to the false king, go ahead, right? 2D puppet animation came, one step down from CGI. These guys couldn't draw for shit. Just look at the Cartoon Network Adventure Time thing. Look at it. These guys couldn't draw at all, right? 2D puppet, 2D rigs came. These guys didn't know anything about drawing. They didn't know anything about animation. Forget about the 12 laws. They didn't know nothing. Yet they were suddenly given authority. People favored them over hand-drawn animators, right? They got the jobs. They got the money, right? Again, you wanna be afraid of somebody with less ability than you. You want to bend your knee to the false king. Go ahead. So now we've got AI. What is AI? There was a line in a Bruce Lee film where he was talking about guns. And he said, any bloody fool can pull a trigger. Well, any bloody fool can animate now. Are they really animating? Do they really know what to judge what they're looking for? Right? So the important thing, if you all want, excuse me, I kind of lost. If you all want this thing, I'm going to write it in big, bold lettering. Security, right? There's a lot of insecurity at the moment, right? You all want security. The important thing that you need to understand about yourself is what do you want, right? I did a whole live stream about this yesterday. Do you want to, do you want to just create and not care about the outcome? Do you want to be a bystander, right? Here's Big Brother drawing, right? He's got his hand on the paper, and there's a little baby. Ooh, daddy, or Big Brother. Ooh, can you draw it like this? Ooh, hee. Ooh. Okay, so this is AI, and this is the AI bro, right? So does he really know? Right? You want to be that? You can be that, right? So if you want to be that, then don't be afraid of AI, use AI. But if you're going to be like hoping that, oh, Sora's gone down, OpenAI is done, yay. You don't, look, the genie's out of the bottle now. Do you really think that, like, most of the things, the way the world works is R&D, research and development, testing the market, right? You're all being used as like monkeys in a lab to test this AI, testing the market, give like fishing, give them some slack, then reel them in. Give them some slack, then reel them in. Very soon they're going to develop a system and it's going to suddenly become a charged system. It's going to suddenly, become like all kinds of things as everybody becomes dependent on AI. Do I care? No. Do I care if AI succeeds or fails? No, because I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm secure in what I'm doing. What have I chosen to do in life? Hand-drawn animation. Do I desperately need everybody to think that hand-drawn animation is alive and well to do hand-drawn animation? No. I'll do it regardless. So the thing is you need to keep your eye on what it is you're going for. Because then if the eye is constantly going here and there in fear, you're going to miss it and you're going to go nowhere near it. And you're going to blame something else for your lack of focus. So that's essentially what it all is. It ain't my fault. It's AI's fault. The world changed, and it ain't my fault. Well, listen. maybe it ain't your fault that the industry changed and you can't get a job in that particular industry. But what was that your goal? Was it just the job, or did you want to feel fulfilled from actually doing your art, the art that came from your brain, through your hand, through the marks you made on the page? Do you want fulfillment of that, or is it just the job? The security, oh, I'm being paid because I love to draw. But then you're being paid because you love to draw. You love to draw. You love to draw. So keep your focus on that which you love, not that which you hate, or not that which you're afraid of. The only reason you're afraid is you think something's going to take that which you love away from you. Well, the only person that can take that love away from that thing is you. Right? So all of this talk about AI, and you must be pleased about, so I don't give a shit. I don't give a rat's ass about what AI is doing, or what AI can do, or what AI can't do. It's got nothing to do with what I'm doing. I'm interested in actually the process of what I do, the fulfillment of what I do, and the satisfaction that I actually know how to do it, and I know what I'm looking for. If I wanted to, I could go to an AI and I could write with my knowledge the most amazing prompts, and then refine those things and create absolutely amazing, kick-ass, finished, Hollywood-beating looking work. But I don't want to. Because that's not why I do what I do. That's literally why not why I do what I do. I get fulfillment about visualizing something in my head and watching it unfold through the process of the human body and the skills and the techniques, seeing those things, the betterment, self-betterment, constantly, progressively improving. I'm not interested in the sheen and the gloss and the, I understand I'm getting on in life. I'm almost 50. So I understand from a younger perspective the need to be seen, the desire for attention. I totally understand that. And I totally can respect that. And that's why you're a little bit afraid at the moment. But honestly, my advice would be to just, if you're interested in doing your art and your hand-drawn art, just focus on improving at that. Because anything what you focus on, it's like a flashlight, right? You have this beaming light, right? But if you can just harness that light in this little thing, that little ray will go on your target. And then that target will grow, right, into a beautiful, strong tree, or whatever you want to metaphorically call it, right? So I'm glad you mentioned that about AI, because it gave me a chance to allow people to gather into the stream as we start talking about the real topic of pose-to-pose animation, understanding. See, most people prompting wouldn't really understand the difference between an extreme, a key, a breakdown on favors, a breakdown on thirds, a breakdown on a half. They wouldn't understand a figure of eight arc. They really wouldn't. They can assume, a figure of eight arc moves in a figure of eight, but where to put the slow in on the figure of eight. So a lot of these people that, maybe to the average Joe, looking at that AI produced work, it's like, wow, that looks like a Disney film. amazing. Oh my God. Okay? But you see, that again gives me the sense of satisfaction. It's like, nah, clearly somebody who doesn't really know what they're talking about has done this. So to me, looking at finished full-colored AI moving is the same as looking at finished full-colored rigged animation trying to look like hand-drawn, or finished looking at 3D CGI trying to look like hand-drawn. Yeah, to the person, you know, to the half-wise even, to the half-wise, perhaps it looks good. Maybe the finished color and the effect and the background painting looks good, even to me, but animation, no, not even close. Does not look like a competent animator has been at it at all. Looks like it maybe at best somebody in a sweatshop rushing out television animation's been at it. And it's got a bit more consistency, so it could be like rigged animation doing its utmost to look like hand-drawn. But to a real animator, nah, sorry, doesn't really cut it, and I don't think it ever will. Let's go, Anthony Doles. Anthony Doles is online. There he is. There is a distinction between consumption and creation, and nothing AI can do will ever bridge the gap between the two. It's consumption, and it's most self-indulgent and masturbatory. Listen, yeah, I agree, but again, like, to me, the people using AI are no different to the people using CGI, who use CGI and who use... They're no different to me, okay? Because we've all got to be honest with ourselves. We're bitching about animation, but typography was a whole art form. You know, I don't even know and understand, but like I think, you know, a typographer would have all these kind of charts, and they'd invent these amazing fonts, and we'd all use them, and they'd all, you know, they'd understand the balance. Okay, I'm gonna put a swirl between here and a swirl here, which is gonna come here like this. And then maybe the T will start here. I don't know what I'm doing, by the way. I'm just making something up, right? Maybe this will come here like this. I don't have a clue. So a typographer would use their studied knowledge of wealth. And here we are for decades in Photoshop using the default text fonts that have just been given to us, putting these people out of work. And then we're damning AI for people for doing that with animation. Doesn't feel nice when it happens to you, does it? So my thing is I'm not going to bitch about people who do not have a hope in hell of doing what I do, and now they can play and have a go. Because that's what CGI animators have always been to me. That's what rigged animators have always been to me. In my language, well, I can't speak it, so I'm being a bit pretentious here. But in my parents' language, you know, I guess in English you'd go, what a cute kid or something. But it just feels better saying it in my parents' language. They would say, never mind, he's a kid. And that would be like bachcha would be the word. What a bachcha hai? What a bachcha hai? And in my mind, I think of that whenever I see people playing about with AI, even 2D rigged people or CGI people. Call it an elitist attitude or whatever. I don't care. That's just how I feel. I'm not going to apologize for it. Whenever I look at somebody trying to do something that they don't really have the knowledge to do, I just say, that's cute. You know, that's my way of looking at it. I regulated myself to being a lurker for years. Now I'm making an effort to be more active both in the chat and the training library. I need to get my shit. Well, you, sir, have never been a lurker. If you are the Frank who I think you are, and I think you're a pretty good painter, by the way, I'm so grateful for the support that you've always given me. I really do wish you wouldn't get into fights with people online in the chat and them kind of like ruining your life with their trolling or whatever, like the little red business, if you're the same Frank, you know. So but I'm grateful because I know that you're on my side, right? You know, you've never been a lurker, my friend. I know exactly who you are. Well, I'm guessing if you're that frank, and I'm very grateful. I'm extremely grateful. Hey Cameron, I was using you as an example in one of the rare live streams that you wasn't in my last live stream. So it was a lot of fun talking about your ability to animate on paper, which kind of like is relating to what we're talking about a little bit here. Okay, right. So I digress. So let's talk about the pose to pose, right? So you'll know that I've been animating this sequence here. You'll see some of it. It's all fully in between. There we go. All this stuff is all fully in between. There's loads of it everywhere, right? So we may as well just watch the piece as it is. So let's see how far we are in it. By the way, those of you who are donating to this project, thank you very much. Every little bit does help, and it's helping move AMB animation into a creation, into an actual creation studio, as opposed to just constantly being a place for people to. Don't apologize, Cameron. Don't apologize. You know, you got a life, my friend, and you got your own work to be doing. Okay, so here's where we are so far with it. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the pose-to-pose process. So we've got almost how many? I don't know, like, we'll find out. I think it's almost a minute and a half worth of animation here done of this dance sequence. It's a lot of fun just getting through it. Okay, so that's how far we've got with it, and it was I honestly don't even know how long it is. The time search, it's not 45 seconds. I know it's more than 45 seconds. So but anyway, so you'll remember that in one of my other live streams, I went out and proceeded to block out in rough the poses for the next sequence. And somebody in the chat was asking me about pose to pose, and do you just do the poses? No, I do the in-betweens and everything. So these are what I call the extreme poses, right? And now, to repeat myself, because we got more people in the chat, I'm going to go through the process through this very easy scene here, right? Of what pose-to-pose animation is and how a great animator would tackle it, right? Because I understand there's a hierarchy of extremes, keyframes, and breakdown frames, and in-betweens. Now, the extremes, sometimes I admit my words can cause a bit of confusion when I explain it. I sometimes say the extremes are the extreme positions, and that can cause confusion. Because an extreme position could be, this is the extreme high and the extreme low and the extreme left and the extreme right, so the furthest the character can go. And if I'm honest, sometimes I kind of do think a bit like that when planning my animation, but that's strictly not the absolute truth, right? The extreme positions are the first and the last frame, right? Or in the case of hair, it's the first and the last frame and the one that's going to be the extreme midpoint, like the middle one to help me find my way, right? Those are going to be called the extreme positions. Now, Many people don't deal with extremes, and they jump straight into key animation, and then they're kind of like then adding more keys and more keys, and you can get by that way, but it kind of like makes the whole thing very unorganized, especially if you're working with assistants and you want to get a clean, easy timing chart that doesn't confuse them. So the keyframes are key movements that help determine the arc. So I often say we've got 1 point here and 1 point here. We'll put a midpoint here, right? So these are the extreme frames, right? So if I was to just start in between there, I could go here and I could go here, right? Well, we need a bit of keyframe to help us out, right? So I'm gonna maybe put a keyframe here and a keyframe here. So immediately we could go there, we could go there, we could go there, we could go there, right? Well, that's where you want to think, okay, well, things have to arc, right? So a competent animator would arc like that, right? I might decide I want another key, right? I might decide that I want another key. Where would I want it? I want another key here and another key here. So I would go like this, right? Then I would probably need another key here, like this, and then I'd probably think I'll need another key here, right? So those are the key frames, which have helped me make an interesting arc of motion, right? Now the breakdown frames are going to help me determine the speed, right? So I might say I want to slow out. So I'm going to put my first breakdown here, right? And then between this point, I want to slow in and slow out. So I'll put another breakdown, 2 breakdowns here. That's going to slow the movement. I may even add a different arc in the breakdown, but that can become confusing, right? So again, here I'll say, well, this is going to be a linear movement. This is going to be a linear movement. So I'll just put my breakdown halfway. This is now going to be a linear movement halfway. But here I'm going to slow into these points. And I'm going to slow in at the end. So my breakdowns is helping with the timing, right? And it starts to make everything a little bit move in that way. And the in-betweens will then, okay, so it's going to take half a second to get to here. So the in-betweens I've got to figure out. So if we're slowing out, then I'm maybe going to make 8 frames here and then 4 frames to get to there. So I'll need 2 in-betweens on thirds there, and I'll probably need to just keep going 1, 2, 3, 2, 4, yeah, to make that slow out work there, right? So that would be 9 rather if I was working on odd numbers, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. There we go, right. So that's how it all works, right? So the breakdowns kind of guide the timing and they can affect the arc, right? Right for my friend if he comes onto my live stream. So now we're going to watch me go about doing this simple movement with between these 2 extremes, what I would do as a superior animator, how I would make it more interesting. Missed that, but caught up on it. Was it Yorkshire with relatives again? Great stream. Thank you, Cameron. I'm me. All right. Much love and respect to you. Awesome. And Silver Sun has arrived. Great. All right. So let's jump in and let's do this. So we're not going to immediately start going from this to this, right? So you could say, okay, well, maybe I want to move down, like I want to arc down and arc up, right? So I'm going to put my body low like that, and I'm going to arc, but it's going to be a midway point, like right this, right? We could do that, right? It's not really what I'm going for in the motion, right? We need to look at it as a whole. So in the previous scene, she looks at us, shifts the weight and turns and gets into position. So that kind of action is not really, we want it to be kind of simple, right? A simple statement of a thrust of the hip, right? So, extreme 1, extreme 2, keyframe 1, I'm going to have, let me use a slightly fatter brush. I'm going to bring the character up a bit, right? Maybe just a little bit slighter than that. And it's going to straighten up a little bit, right? Maybe the color will be about here. So I'm roughing out where I think everything needs to be. The arm would probably come up. See, the arm, it's gonna be going this way, so I'm bringing it back, right? This is gonna be going this way, so I'm bringing it this way. 10 points. Let's make this chat interactive. 10 points to anybody who can tell me what law I'm using. What is this law? Anthony, Kevin, you guys should know, Cameron. What is this law that I'm using to make my first keyframe? The character is here, and it's going to be going there, but I'm moving in the other direction. What is that? What is that? What do we call that? It's a very important fundamental principle of animation. You tell me. While I'm roughing this in, I'm actually going to bring the hip down a little bit. Bring the knee down a little bit. That's good. We'll bring it down, everything down a little bit. Let's just turn it this way. That's good. So I'm going to turn things this way. Excellent. Zedpo, no. Good try. Cameron Allen Davidson Black, who is currently reached the advanced archive of the training library, is bang on the money. Anticipation. Yes, Cameron. So nice to have you. Thank you, Zayed Ahmed. Good effort. It's not follow through overlap. It is anticipation. We're anticipating. Look at me in the corner. I'm gonna punch. What do I do before I punch? I bring this hand up maybe, but I bring this hand back because it's coming forward. It's going backwards, it's going forwards, right? So we're anticipating the movement, right? So I'm going to be bringing this, I'm going to bring this down a little bit, right? Bring the hip bone. Look how the hip bone, Anthony Doles, you'll appreciate that. The iliac crest bone connects with this part of the leg. This is going to come down. We're going to raise this up slightly. I'm using real big shape, just moving shapes. Again, notice how I'm dealing with this all as just shapes. So this will be here, and I'll come and refine the volume and everything a little bit later, but I'm just being super fast on stream to make my point. I'm not going to tidy it up. I'm not going to draw it nicely. What's the hand position here? So this hand position, I may actually open the fingers a little bit. Because you see, even when I gave you that punch example, what I did with this hand before, right? like that. You know, if you want to be like a little bit cool and you're doing like a fight, you may want to throw a little flick in front before doing an anticipation. So then you could, like, this is the acting part. See, AI would never do that. The average person wanting to do an anime fight in AI has no fighting experience anyway to make it convincing. They're just going to ask it to reference. So me, I would draw on my experience. I'd maybe come up, come down, put a hand up, come here, and then maybe come here and then flick you with the front, right? So this is what would make the performance in animation a lot more interesting, and that's all based around anticipation. Anticipation is the driving force behind the primary and secondary action. Those two laws are working together to create the performance. You see how once mastery of these animation laws, which is what I was talking about, you can really play, right? Even for simple things, right? So I've got this here. I'm going to keep that hand there like that. Okay. Now I want to think about the hair one more. The hair I'm going to lower. I'm going to have the hair come down a little bit before it comes that way. Right. Okay. So the next frame. Okay, Cameron, what do you think I'm going to do with the next frame? Okay, I want to get from hair to hair. Where am I going to put it? Not just Cameron, everybody. Where am I going to put? I want to go from this frame to this frame now. Okay, so now we've got something like this. Where am I going to go put this frame? Where am I going to put the next frame? What am I going to do with it? Can you guess? Before I draw, I wanna kind of like see if you guys know. Do any of you guys know what I'm gonna do with the next frame? Arcing. Well, it's got to arc, but where am I gonna draw it? Where am I gonna place it? Where am I gonna place the next frame? I've got to get from hair to hair. Where am I gonna place the next frame, right? I've just gone a little bit, like, moved a little bit away from it to get here, right? But where am I going to place the next frame? Anthony Doles, you in the chat? You can join in too. The more you join in, the more this will sink in with you guys. There's nothing wrong with being wrong, by the way, because we've all got to make a few false steps, myself included. That's how I got to this level, by being wrong so many times. Right? Where am I going to put it? Okay, we'll just give you guys maybe 10 more seconds, because I've got to keep this thing moving. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Good try, Zedpo. Well done for trying. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, Zedpo was brave. He says in between it, right? Well, that's pretty much what a lot of people would think. Left for anticipation. No, I've already have. I'm going to do what we call overshoot, right? This is the one little trick rigged puppet animators know. Well done, guys. Frank, Zayed, for trying. Well done. We're going to overshoot. We're going to go a little bit beyond, right? So I'm going to look at this frame and I'm going to turn off previous panel, right? And I'm going to go between here and here, right? So we're going to overshoot it. We're going to do something like this, right? So that means the rib cage is here, the belly is here. And the pants are going to be about here, like this. This thing is going to be here. You see a lot of people would want to use what we call shift and trace, or rigged animators would want to just use that here, but I take it as an opportunity for me to experiment with my ability to draw and maintain form and volume through my mark making, which is very important. Arguably you could, because it's at the top of the screen, it's going to be a lot of it's going to be out of the camera. You could be lazy and just use shift and trace, or just be like a rigged animator. But for me, I just love to draw, which is why I just don't care about AI. It's just like I just loved. So that we've got this. So now I'm wondering about the path of that hand. Maybe I bring the hand up a little bit and I bring the wrist like this, right? See how that goes. Yeah, we get an interesting action with the wrists, and the other hand's coming in here. I'll twin those hands because it's such a short movement. Twinning means move both together at the same time. And anyway, it's a dance, so the twin will kind of help. Now I need to think about the hair. So if the hair's gone from here to here. So the hair, if it comes, we want it backwards and then reintroducing itself. So maybe it's a bit tricky, the hair. So I think about this. Maybe I have it come up because we're overshooting. Comes up on itself here. We just splay it out a bit. Okay. So we've got two key positions in there now. This is an in-betweening, ZPO. This is an in-betweening. This is why ZPO, you need to go back to the basic walk cycles exercises in the training library, and you need to go back to the flour sack exercises. We talk about this all the time, going a little bit, anticipating and going overshooting, right? Now, it's a bit messy at the moment, so I'm going to tidy these up ever so much so you can see the effect of these keyframes. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So we understand what's been done. So let me very quickly, I'm going to be very, very quick here. I'm not going to do it with any clean lines or anything. I'm just going to be so no next panel. I'm just going to come here. Now here's how I maintain form and volume, right? I eyeball it. And by eyeballing it, it doesn't mean, I could very well get it wrong. I could very well lose a little bit, like a fraction of proportion. But I'm happy to have that because that's what keeps hand-drawn animation organic and alive. If you want it to be 100% just the same volume, then you can use the cutout method or place and trace, but then you'll create a very AI looking dead piece of work. So Me personally, I'm quite happy with flipping back and forth. I'm just gonna, this green is still a little bit too strong, so I'm just gonna do that so I can actually see. So what we would do on paper is we would knock things back with what we call a putty eraser. That'll enable us to have a better understanding. So you see how I'm flipping between the drawings. I'm not drawing and measuring, right? You're training, like repetitive action trains your ability to actually do things, right? I'm being quite careless about the accuracy of the anatomy of the upper and lower portion of the body here because we're only really seeing it in this window, right? I'm making sure that the bit I'm seeing in that window is the stuff that I'm really focusing and paying attention. It's not the best outside the window, but it's good enough. It's enough to carry the illusion of what's inside the window, right? So, like if I'm growing and shrinking the knee point, I don't care, right? Here, because I'm more concerned about the stuff within the window actually matching. So these are my first, before we do any breakdowns or anything else, particularly my pipeline of working where I'm trying to get through this animation super fast and do it kind of clean up as I go, right? I'm rushing this to the point that I don't even line test it. I just clean it up as I go, right? Could it be better? Yes, it could, but I'm kind of confident and secure in my own skills that even me at a low level is probably better than most. So this isn't a piece that I'm really challenging myself with. It's just content that I want to get out. And so we've got this one here, right? So we've got this here. Now I need to do this particular action, the overshoot. So I'm going to do the same on this side. I'm only going to focus. So I'm going to put the onion skin, no previous, next panel. So I'm only going to focus on these two. So I'm going to let me then knock this back so you can actually see what I'm drawing, because that green is a little bit, is the blue showing up? Yes, the blue is showing up. See, I'm being very, very faint. Now, Cameron, I've asked you to do those super thick line arts. Now, as soon as you go back to drawing, after you get used to making big swooping strokes with thick, fat, ugly lines, right? When you go back to making everything just a little bit of a finer line with lesser kind of searching lines, you'll be amazed just how nicer your drawings will look, right? So I'm quite excited to see, after a couple of months of progress, after you doing super thick, ugly, thick, fat, like child felt tip drawings, and really not caring, but just making sure that's one way of helping you get a lot more definite. This is my advice to all of you, not just Cameron. You want to be a little bit more definite with your line choices. Just get a fat pen, do it on paper. You can do it with the software, but on paper where you feel like you're wasting paper and all that mentality of, it's kind of challenged of being careful, and you're being really having to trust your own definite line choices. It really does help you speed up your drawing ability faster, your trusting yourself, trusting your own ability to do things, not being so overly careful, Anthony Doles, about something which you're already more than capable of doing, right? A lot of you underestimate yourselves and overestimate the challenge placed before you. Again, I speak with personal experience there. Once you learn to value and trust yourself, everything starts to fall into place. We go back to that whole business of security. That's what I believe my system, Real Animator Training, I've designed that system with a purpose to kind of program your subconscious to be able to execute these animation laws and drawing principles so that the effect, the end result is a greater sense of security and belief in your own ability to do things. Gonna bring this, and I can just use this. A little tip, she's just got 3 fingers, but I'll talk you through it in a minute. A little tip to do the hands is to find the middle finger point and to make that the longest knuckle, right? And then to have the other fingers kind of float off it, right? Like that. Let's have the hair come. If you're thrusting forward, then this here would probably be back on itself, not there. And maybe a few strands of hair out like that. Then that can follow through over there like that. Okay, so we've got the overshoot hair. I don't know how that's looking. Yeah, that's looking fine on the screen. I think shift and trace with certain things like facial features looks too much. Yeah, I despise shift and trace, Anthony Doles. I used to have fights with some of my employers in England because they actually felt that was the way to in between. And some of the studios I worked with, particularly those that did those Beatrix Potter style animations, they literally, most of them had no clue. They literally would draw keyframes to do the complete opposite to what I'm doing here. They just draw the most boring arcs, keyframes, and shift and trace the in-betweens. And there's this awful film called Christmas Carol with a voice acting by Kate Winslet. The whole thing's animated like that. And they don't understand that that's how you lose volume, because you're not trying to imagine 3 dimensions in 2D space. Your foreshortening is really bad because things need to arc to foreshorten properly. So their arcs are too linear and they're shifting and tracing and measuring and Okay, so here's the overshoot. So you can see now that we're going to have a nice thrusting animation in that action. So the next thing would be to break down the animation. So I'm going to break down the animation. I'm not going to do anything clever with the arcs. I take F in the worst shift icon, shift and trace. I can't quite. Oh shit and trace. Good one, Cameron. Good one. Shift and trace, of course, being the US term. In the UK, we always called it place and trace. No, that was a good comment, Cameron. Don't retract it, my friend. Don't retract it. Okay, so I now have an extreme frame, a keyframe, and an extreme frame, right? We could call it all key animation now, right? Boom, 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 right? So the breakdown is where I want to come in with the timing chart. So let's do a bit of a timing chart thing here. I haven't been drawing timing charts because I kind of know what I know what I want, right? I know it's going to take half a second for her to get into this pose, so it's going to take 12 frames. I'm going to then kind of snap out of that pose quickly and slow in, and it's going to take another 12 frames for her to hit that. So 1 second of animation. So instinctively I know what I'm doing. I don't have an assistant at the moment. So, but we will draw the timing chart. So from here to here, I'm going to put in a breakdown, right? So first and foremost, I'm going to think about, okay, how long do I want this action to take? I want this action to take no more than a second, right? So around 25 frames. If I start on 1, it's actually 24 frames. So I have to think, okay, that most of my animation is going to be between here and here. So I'm going to maybe go 8 frames here, 8 frames here. So let me think about this. So the actual in between here and here, I just want on thirds, right? I just want on thirds. So between here and here, there's gonna be, right, 2 in-betweens on thirds, right? One sort of between there and one between there, making it fairly linear, right? Well, how do we get the thrust effect? We spend a lot of time between here and here because this is just 1, 3, 5, 7. So already 7 frames are used, right? We want to use 25 frames. So 7 plus 8 is going to make it. So I got 8 frames to use, right? I've got 8 frames here, 8 frames. I've got it going to do. So from here to here, right? I'm going to change my timing chart. So I'm going to instinctively, I'm going to use a different color for the timing chart. That doesn't help. Okay, let's use a nice big bright red. So I'm going to call this 1, right? And this is going to be like 1, 3, 5. Okay, 3, 5, 7. Okay, now this is going to be thirds, right? The reason it means thirds, it's a linear movement, but it's such a small gap. So it's going to be 1, 3, 5, 7. So this is going to take a quarter of a second, right? That's going to take a quarter of a second for me to get here, right? So 7, in my mind, 9, 11, right? 13, right? 13 is here, right? 15, 17, 15, 17, okay, 19, right? So this is 19, right? So I have got 6 frames left. I have got 6 frames left to make this last a second, right? So I could effectively hold this for 2 frames, but I don't want to, right? I want to hold on the end one, right? So I'm going to revise my timing. I'm going to come in here and change this timing chart, right? I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say, okay, we're going to have an extra linear movement. So we're going to say 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, right? So now we're 9, okay? So then 9 becomes 11, becomes 13, becomes 15, right? So this is now 15, right? Let's do it properly. So if we're teaching, we need to do it properly. Okay, so 9, 11, 13, 15, 15. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm not going to, I'm going to go 17, 19, 21, 23, right? So this now becomes 23. And I can hold that for 4 frames or for 2 frames to hit 25 or anywhere between the window 25 to 27, right? If I want to speed it up even more, this thrust, I can switch. Now pay attention. I can switch this to 1s and this could become 10 and 11 and I've got more room to hold at the end, right? So this can be a faster movement on 1s. This thing here, right? So it gives me the window and I've used roughly a second to get between there to there, right? Right? So what have we got? The lovely Hervonia Baker is online watching at work. And Julio Mullet says he's doing the same. I appreciate that, guys. Thank you so much. Right, so now let's go in and let's do the first breakdown, right? This breakdown would be 17, right? Between here, either one could be a breakdown. They're so linear. They're just thirds, in betweens on thirds, which is a linear movement, but it's kind of like it kind of works better than having it on half because we don't want it to be an even halfway between these two. We want to kind of favor one and favor the other. Okay, so we're going to add in drawing number 5, right? Now drawing number 5 is simply halfway between. So let's put in drawing number 5. So I can just start, let's see. You see how I immediately start in betweening lines and suddenly I lose all sense of what it is I'm doing. But this is a very simple scene where you can kind of like, the in-betweens or the breakdowns are more or less a case of in-betweening lines. I like that not to be the case in many of my drawings, especially since slowing down a lot of John Lounsbury's work and seeing just how the old school Disney in-betweeners were probably better than a lot of the Renaissance animators because they were given a lot more challenge in simple in-betweens were not so simple in those films. When you slow down that animation, you think, what? Like, this is which one's the key, right? They're all doing crazy things. This must have been either done on straight ahead or but sometimes, especially when it goes on the scene that you're doing, the work gets a lot. The scene is simple, and it is just a simple case of in between. So this is my halfway point, and I will continue to half. Now I don't want to jump into the halfway point. I want the whole anticipation to be a slow movement. I'm not going to do any more. I'm just going to draw within the window, right? And that slow out at the end gives me the opportunity to do something with the hair. Now the hair could ideally be on a different timing and bounce and come back up, but I'm not going to do that. I don't want to add, she hasn't got that kind of, well, she has actually got that kind of hair, but I think it'll overcomplicate such a simple scene for 1 second. Sometimes just putting too much in there. So that's our first little breakdown that we've got there. So let's have a little look at the movement. Just got done pricing out the mountain of video games, and thankfully no one in the store right now. So now you can see just that little anticipation at the start gives it a little preparation before the oomph, right? So now we're going to focus on our next action, which is I'm going to jump to the end here, and I'm going to put in a little in between here and here before we do the linear thirds movement. So that is another half. right? So we're gonna bring this onto a half like that. See, Cameron, one of the reasons why you're really good at form and volume is because you have the mindset about place and trace. You've developed a good habit not to be lazy. So now, if you ever were up against it and you were doing a scene like this and you had so much more important scenes to do and you were on a commission, you would say, okay, I know that this, I can place and trace this. And it won't affect you because you've got the skill. You've got the skill to be able to best practice not place and trace. But when you're on a tight deadline on a scene like this, you'd place and trace, right? The beauty of this being my own work is I don't have to place, and I'm not on a tight deadline. I'm already rushing the animation, so I don't have to place and trace. So I'm going to do this hand, and I'm going to maintain the volume of the hand by simply creating this line, which means the middle finger, right? He's going to come here, and then the other two fingers are just going to sit on either side, like that. That's how it works. We're going to move this halfway in. And it's the little touches like this, and because the character is quite anatomical, it'll feel a lot realer, but it won't feel like rotoscoped or motion captured. It'll just feel a lot realer because as we've done the overshoot, I've got this nice dink in the spine and the belly working like this. So that actually gives the illusion, sells the illusion a lot better. Right? I'm going to come here. Now this hand is going to be halfway. I'm going to introduce thumb there like that. Right, so we have that. Now the hair, I'm going to have kind of flowing, just a little indication that the hair is going to be follow throughing and overlapping there. And we're going to arc this up and around. So this is going to come here like that. Bum, 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 bum. It's going to look good. So even without the thrust, you'll see that the before and after effects are already giving this thing some timing, right? You don't even really need the in-betweens, but I'm gonna put those in-betweens in there, right? So if we go here, we've got like that effect, but we do need to soften it. But you can see just how powerful those two keyframes have really added to the animation. So what number was that? 9, 15. That's 5, 9, 11, 15. This is 17. Right. So we're gonna go between here and here now. So we're gonna let's say 11, right? Let's do 11, right? So I have to get from here to here, right? So I'm gonna see that this line is here and this line is here. Now I'm not going to just start in betweening lines and think about that. I have to think about the anatomy, right? So I have to think about what the butt's doing, right? So the butt is going to be going like this, right? So this leg is going to be straightening up, but I want to slow out of that. I'm doing it on a third, 1/3 of the way. Because if we look at the chart, it's 1/3 of the way, right? And then this one has got to be 1/3 of the way. Right? Like this. Right, so I'm already watching what's happening with those legs. Now the body is going to be 1/3 of the way, but do I want the body just coming down robotically? No, I want the body coming, arcing down like this. So I'm going to think about moving this shape here. So now, very important, although I'm doing it 1/3, I'm not going to put the butt 1/3, right? I'm going to jut the butt out a bit, because that's what the hip anatomy would be doing, right? There. The hip anatomy would already have the butt in line with the next frame. So this is where you don't just think, oh, he said 1/3, he said 1/3, so everything's got to be 1/3 of the way. No, you got to think about the anatomy of the character, what's actually happening, right? Same with this. The belly button is going to be here. Belly's going to be like that. Although the belly button is 1/3 of the way, right? Which is very good. I have to think about, we've got a side view of a belly with a twist here, right? Now in this one, the belly isn't full side view. We got a little bit of the other aspect, other side of the rib cage showing in there. Now because of that, I found my belt line, right? The belt line works like this with the model. I'm going to have that like that, right? So that's how that works, right? Now I've got to think about the arm. So the arm, the shoulder is going to be here. It's going to come up 1/3. It says 1/3. I'm trying to keep it all on thirds. I could try and just say, oh, the arm will be better on a half. But I'm going to kind of put a little bit of the drag in there, right? So, because we need to see what's happening to that hand shape. So I'm going to kind of keep that hand like that. And the other hand comes into play. Going to have something like that. Yeah. Now here, I'm going to rely a little bit on... Oh, I can rely on this one, actually. It's a little bit not the best drawn in, this one. So I'll do the colors more to kind of find my way. It's off screen, so I'm not killing myself with its accuracy, but I just want it to be wanted it to be good enough so that when I introduce it, it's going to sell the image, right? I can have it like that, that's fine. Of course, we've got to deal with the sleeve now, so that sleeve has gone there, so we want that up there like that. That'll do, right? And the hairstyle is going to be coming a little bit back on itself. So we're going to start introducing the hair on the back. I'm going to linger that hair. I'm going to favor this hair, but I'm going to put a little bit of a bit of follow through and overlap on the like that, because it'll help create the sense of movement. Right, so we have got 11 is the breakdown there, right? So all of the breakdowns are now done. I do for 11 hours a day. Could be worse. You work at a game store. Okay. So we now have something like this, right? So immediately, even with the breakdown animation in-between, we've got a very interesting movement, which is more than just a simple like back and forth, right? Back and forth. Let me just go to here, right? So going from hair to hair, we've made the journey so much simpler, and that 1 second of animation has got now a little bit of charisma to it, right? We're going from hair to hair. A lot of beginners would have just in between it linearly, but we can see that we got a lot of charisma and a little bit of a bounce going into there, right? Like that. So if we look at the proceeding, you can see how the edit works nicely. I'm just watching the hair as well. Yeah, the slow into that hair there will work nicely when it's in between. It's a little bit of stuff on the hair. So what I would need to do is before I do any in-betweens, I will go ahead and clean all this up. But I'm not going to do any more to it on the live stream, because you can kind of see where I'm going with all of this. I don't know why the live stream is like that. You can kind of see where I've gone with all of that, right? Now, the next part of the live stream, you guys can ask me questions. So while you got your questions ready, I'm going to talk about the world's best learning resource in the craft of hand-drawn animation, which is the AMB Animation Real Animator Training Library. So a lot of people online at the moment are worried about AI, as we talked about in the chat before, but those of you that are watching this screen, whether AI comes and goes, I guarantee you in 5 years' time, when AI is firmly in place, you're still going to be watching about drawing, and you're still going to be drawing, and you're still going to be having a go at animation. Why? Because that's your modus operandi. That's what you do. So what the Real Animator Training Library is it's a place that'll really teach you and help you have a good foundation in order to learn properly. You've got a lot of places online that claim to teach you animation, but they just pander to your dopamine fix of I want to draw nice characters and I want to feel like I'm an animator right now. The reality is you are an animator right now, but you're not a very good animator right now. That doesn't mean you can't be. The reason I'm saying that is it's called the Real Animator Training Library. You have to be honest and real with yourself before you're about to work on self-improvement. Now, watching somebody doing something who's very good at it and then joining their course and drawing their advanced characters, or even just, just following along with their videos when you don't really understand what it is you're doing, and then feeling nice in the moment is like a very bad band-aid. It's not going to help. Now, I understand that plenty of you are going to do that. And good luck to you. I wish you the best. But the Real Animator Training Library is for those of you who are serious about your development, or those of you who are kind of sick and tired of doing that routine, of watching the appealing tutorial, feeling good in the moment while you copy the screen, and then really understanding and not knowing anything about animation, and then kind of like going in a vicious cycle of continuously watching somebody who's really great at something do something and follow along and get that dopamine fix of feeling like you're doing it. And then the cycle continues. Then you watch your own hand, you draw the work, you feel discomfort in your gut, you don't like the results. It doesn't have to be that way. Just like anything, animation is a system that has to be learned through strong, solid foundations before the finished article even becomes prevalent in what you're doing. So you get reward from learning and you get reward from progressing through fundamentals, but ultimately you are postponing the rush of pretending that you can actually do it to a later date, when that time will come where you will actually be able to do it. You will actually be able to draw, animate, and watch in wonder as the work unfolding before you is at the command of your own hand. Now that'll only happen if you've got a solid foundation. So copying people's character designs and trying to move those around and animate those things is you're just fooling yourself, and you're not really helping yourself in the best way. So I designed this system, the Real Animator Training Library, that will help you. If you click on Real Animator Training and click Join Now, we'll talk about how it really will. So you can get them in various bundles. Now, I'm not going to talk about the USD price is there, so you can get it in USD. It'll appear to you in British pounds because that's my currency, but you can get it in USD. So let's talk more importantly about what the Real Animator Training is. So you have these training archives, which you follow along with my videos, just like anybody else's, but here's the difference. Let's go into the basics archive, for example. So little to no drawing skill is required, and you follow along with these videos. So you start with like a bouncing ball. Now, how long's my bouncing ball video? 1.5 hours. And the next ball is a jumping ball. So we don't just do a series of quick bouncing balls and say, yeah, that's it. All right. No, you're going to spend another 1.5 hours learning how to make a ball bounce across the screen. And when I do it, you're going to draw along with me and you're going to listen to everything I say, because I've designed these videos that when you draw and you're following along, you're not just pausing the video and copying the screen and trying to draw a nice character and focusing on that. Because that's just the stupid way, and nobody gets anywhere doing that. But somehow we're in a world where people like to do that because they're chasing the dopamine rush of, I can do it. No, you're going to follow along with me as I draw, and I'm nice and slow. That's why these videos are over 1 hour. I'm nice and slow, and I'm explaining to you, and you're going to take notes, and you're going to follow along, and you're going to really learn. So once you move on from the bouncing ball, you're going to move on to pendulums. In fact, let's go back and just look at what the Basics Archive is all about. Let's just watch this for a second, because it'll explain it a lot clearer to you what you're going to be going through. The Basics Archive has been designed specifically to make you a master of those core fundamental animation exercises. We begin with a bouncing ball and then move on to a jumping ball. After that, we start playing around with the timing and the spacing to generate different speeds and weights to the ball. We also have a swinging pendulum exercise that's designed to really maximize our understanding of arcs. The point of doing these exercises is to drum home those core principles of timing, spacing, slowing in, slowing out, and arcs. It's vitally important to learn these exercises through simple shapes and lines so that you can transition onto more complex shapes as you progress. Once we have completed the ball and pendulum series, we then transition onto our side view walk cycle series. You will learn the cycles one section at a time, beginning with the legs, the body, the head, the arms, and then afterwards the timing and spacing. So we begin with the basic walk cycle, then transition onto a standard walk that really pushes those body mechanics and teaches you more about the movements of the human body with the specially designed AMB Stickman. You will also learn how to do a jog cycle and a dynamic run cycle, all utilizing these 4 video lecture series in there to maximize your understanding of each action so that you'll eventually be able to understand the way each body part moves and then do everything all in one go. After completing the side view series, you then move on to the front view series, which is again presented to you in the 4 video format of the legs, the body, the arms, and the head. Again, we do the walk cycle and the run cycle to maximize our understanding of body mechanics and the arts of each different part. After doing the run cycle from the front, we move on to the basic head turn and then the varied head turn. See, the thing is, the choice is yours. You can go and follow a tutorial and pause the screen and copy a nice character's head and pretend that you've animated that head turn when you've just copied a screen. Or you can try and animate a simple stick figure turning its head with 2 dots as eyes and see just how fucking hard it really is because you can't maintain form and volume of a simple circle. So the Real Animator Training Library isn't for people who are just playing, isn't for people who are just, pretending. It's for people who actually really want this. As Anthony says in the chat, you'll learn more from AMB's first bouncing ball videos than you'd learn from many other people's entire tutorial series. I've checked. He's no reason to say that, but he's saying it, and I thank him for saying that. But it's the truth. It's not going to, my work, my training system is not going to appeal to people that are just looking for a good time, a quick bit of fun, a little bit of escapism, somebody who just wants to pretend that they can do things when they really can't. You see, many other foundational skills, you can't get away with doing things like that. You want to do brain surgery on somebody, you can't play around and pretend you know, right? Animation and art are very forgiving in that regard. But here's the thing, you may not kill yourself physically, but you're killing yourself mentally. You're, increasing depression, increasing self-belief, increasing the feeling of you don't have it, just for that simple procrastination of what it is. So the fact is it's not for everybody. It's only for those who really want it. If you really want to animate to a high level, then the Real Animator Training Library is for you. I've got tons of archives like that. That's just the basics archive. But my basics archive is so powerful, I get people from the industry just buying that. All right? And that sends them on their way and helping them. So that's the Real Animator Training Library. If you want to transform yourself, if you're sick and tired of looking at your own work and following mindless trash that the algorithm puts before you, or investing in courses that are just simply designed to give you a dopamine hit, then join the Real Animator Training Library. It's not too late. Within 3 to 5 years, you'll have it. You'll have animation skills that are beyond most people. Right, okay. That is the AMB Animation Real Animator Training Library. Let's close that down. Now, I did say while I was talking, giving you the little spiel on the Real Animator Training Library, that's your chance to think of some questions that you'd like to ask me. So I have got some questions, and I'm going to start with Anthony Doles, who says, it sounds like you mentioned you're not limiting yourself to thinking of her movement as being a third across her entire body. Would you say it's useful in instance to think in terms of multiple timing charts, whether you actually draw them or not? Yes and no, Anthony. In regard to the hip thrust hair, it is a third. It is a third, and I'll tell you why. Remember I mentioned our old friend, Anthony, which is your friend as much as mine, knowing what I know of you, is anatomy. Anatomy, for that body to be in the place it's in, everywhere else is on a third. The butt has to be closer to this line there, right? Because the legs have moved, these legs have moved, the stomach's moved, everything's moved, and this line is here. So you have to think, you don't just think I'm in betweening lines. You got to think of everything as a unit. The multiple timing chart is when the hands possibly are doing a different thing to the body or the head. Like if I'm talking and I'm wagging my finger and I'm shaking my head, right? The wagging of the finger is going to be on maybe favors at each top point and each bottom point, or thirds, and the shaking of my head could possibly be on thirds or linear halves, depending on how linear I want that head shape, right? So that's, the circling of my hands, the nodding of my head, the body, linear body on halves, the hands on thirds, the head nod possibly on favors or thirds as well. That's when you think multiple timing charts. The thing is the timing chart is normally passed off to an assistant, but it's a training method used to train the animator on understanding slowing in, slowing out, keyframes, breakdown frames in accordance to the arc and the unit of time that you're working with it. So everything with this hip thrust in this action here is a third, even if that butt line is closer to the other line. Do not think of it as in-betweening lines. In-betweening lines is the process when you're drawing the in-betweens, and yes, you're in between the line on a half when you're slowing in. But when you're actually in the process of animating and breaking down, more so than in-betweening, you're not going to think of it like an in-between or in-betweening lines. You're going to think, I'm an animator and I'm putting that on a third, and the whole body is on a third because the whole unit is moving on a third, but the anatomy puts her butt a little bit there, which maybe doesn't look like a third from a line point of view, but from the whole unit action, it's a third. Hopefully that kind of helps that. But the multiple timing chart thing we cover in Real Animator Training in the intermediate archive, and a little, I think, one on the basics archive, we just touch on it. Yes, I use DaVinci Resolve now instead of Adobe Premiere. When I had to switch my laptop over to from Windows 10 to Windows 11, I had to buy a new system. Suddenly Windows 11 wouldn't work with my Adobe CS6. I cannot stand Adobe. I do not use Adobe products anymore because of the subscription service. So the CS6 was serving me. As you know, I don't really use software for any kind of modern glossy turd crap. I just polishing the turd. I just need something to be like digital paper for me. The Adobe Photoshop, the original, would have been good enough for me as well, like Photoshop 4 or 5. 7 I think was the one I used. So I was just using CS6 because I bought and paid for it. Premiere, again, I'm not trying to do any fancy editing. I just need a basic thing to shove my frames in and pencil test. I cannot use that on my new machine, so DaVinci Resolve is my alternative, and I only know how to use it to do basic editing and line testing. I'm not interested in using it for any of the other purposes, so I can't comment. The reason I'm talking like that is I hate focusing on software, because software is not really what a real artist worries about. I mean, it's what I've always said to all of the software bros on my channel. You talk about software, let's talk about software. Stop watching my channel, stop learning how to draw, go and type prompts into AI. That's your software animation. But thank you, Zedpo. DaVinci Resolve is what I use. If you want to use it too. It's very easy to do your line testing in. Very simple. You can be within it. You can be up and running, doing your pencil tests within 10 minutes. It's all free too. You will learn more from more from AMB's bouncing ball videos than you learn from many other people's entire tutorial series. Yes, absolutely, Anthony. Thank you. I was going to do some master studies of background storyboards for the next few weeks. I was going to take notes to go do assets. What I'm doing, is this a good method to learn something new? It depends if you know what you're looking for. You're always going to learn from doing a master study, but it's like searching for an entrance in the dark. You can have the best intentions, but if you don't know what you're looking for, then you're probably better off understanding the essential basics of that. You want to understand backgrounds, you need to understand the essential basics of layout, background layout, value, tone, color, lighting. Also, backgrounds are not just backgrounds, they're production design. If I'm designing somebody's room, what's going to be in that room that brings out the character of that person? You look at a movie like Steam Boy, one of the most underrated movies. Probably I actually put Steam Boy in many ways above Akira. You just look at the production design of Ray Steam's room. My God, that's above most live action. They've really thought about what are the things, what are the objects, what these guys have in his bedroom, what this guy has in his bedroom that is his personality, his character. That's him. What kind of books does he read? What has he got lying around the table? He's an inventor. There's so much clutter, but it's all relevant to the kind of things he invents. This is production design. That very much goes into enriching background art too. So Silver Sun, if you really need to learn about, want to do master studies, you need to understand basics before. If you want to understand just composition for background, then you got to understand the basics of what makes a good composition. Now, in my professional archive, I touch on these things with my, if I go in here, if I open Real Animator Training, here are some of the things. Now, Silver Sun, you do not have to purchase this, but I'm going to give you a little bit of info for free, right? So I've mentioned this many times. If you go into my professional animation lectures archive, and you look at the first series, we got communicating with the audience, editing and continuity, camera angles and shots, camera moves and transitions, background sets and props, shot composition, mood, lighting, color, and camera lenses. Okay, now I prime you and I talk about those things and I give you the exact roadmap of what to look for and what to study as a professional when you're doing those things. But if you do not have the funds, or you don't want to invest in that, that's fine, but at least understand that those are some of the things that you need to be aware of before you go looking at a master study and just copying it and taking note of the things that you see, because you might be taking note of the things that you see, but unless you're aware of what it is you're seeing, and the notes that you're taking are kind of in ignorance or naive. Because that's why I tell people, if you want to, people see me slowing down Milk Carl, people see me slowing down John Lounsbury and learning from those great masters, or even slowing anime down, and they try and do the same, and good for them. But it's not the same, because when I'm slowing it down, I'm looking for what the keys, extremes are. I'm kind of figuring out what the arcs are. I'm seeing where the slow in and slow outs are. I'm not just copying the screen and going, he's drawn the nose like that. Oh, okay. I'm saying, okay, what's the primary and secondary action here? How is he timing the squash and stretch? How is he using anticipation? So I'm looking for all the things within those 12 laws. Exaggeration, appeal. Is he forsaking appeal? how has he created this exaggerated drawing and got appeal out of it? What shapes has he used? How does that move? How has he timed the transition from one shape to another? So when I'm studying and breaking down an animation, I involuntarily, subconsciously know what to look for. Same as when I'm studying a script. Like I told you about the 12 laws of screenplay storytelling, the 12 laws of storytelling, the ordinary world, the call to adventure, the refusal to the call, the arrival of a mentor, the crossing of the threshold, the tests, the allies, the enemies, the search to the journey to the innermost cave, the ordeal, the reward, the chase, the resurrection, the return with the elixir. Now, I can be watching a film with my wife and already my brain is going, okay, what's going on within the framework of this script I'm watching? What is the director doing? Is any or some of that in there? How strong is it? So you need to have foundational, fundamental. You need, if you want to be good at anything, Kevin Silver, you're a real animator training library member. I would hope that you would understand this, because I've always talked about this. If you have anything that you want to stand on, right? This is you, Kevin Silver. I don't know why I imagine that you have glasses. I could be wrong. But if you have anything that you want to stand on, it's fundamentals. If you want to call them basics, call them basics. Somebody standing on fundamentals, okay, is better than, you know, the toughest, most strongest guy drowning, right? He's drowning, right? He's drowning in advanced complexity because he knows nothing about this. It's superficial, like his muscles, right? Superficial. He's got nice big bulging muscles, but you actually ask him to do something with them, there's no core strength, right? So the basic fundamentals, ask this guy who's trained mountain climbing with his skinny arms. He'll climb a steep mountain because that's his fun. Ask this guy who's been pumping iron to do the same. He'll cut his hand and cry and get tired and give up, right? No matter his frame and his body is like this, right? Similarly, ask this guy to lie on a bench and pump iron, right? Maybe not. Whereas this is where this guy will be the winner in. But personally, I know what I'd rather do, right? So the fact of the matter is, Kevin, you've asked me, is that a good way to go about it? Yes, it's a good way to go about it, only if you know what you're looking for. Got to be honest with yourself. Do you have foundational understandings of the fundamentals of backgrounds and storyboards before you go about doing that? Glossy turd crap. My pleasure, Anthony. I'm not going to trip. I pride myself in being a decent animator, but backgrounds are definitely my weak point. Okay, well then you know how to work on them. Backgrounds, like everything, have a purpose, right? Have a purpose. See, Kevin asked me about Gracie Goodbear. He wanted to know more about Gracie Goodbear, because what Kevin sees in Gracie Goodbear, and it's part of what she is, she's a pin-up, right? So she likes to pose like this, right? And that's all there is to her, right? But Gracie Goodbear likes Art Nouveau, right? Gracie Goodbear likes shapes like this, right? Gracie Goodbear likes Art Nouveau. So if Gracie Goodbear was going to have a bedroom, it would be an Art Nouveau inspired bedroom, you know. She also likes 1960s, right? So she's going to have a 1960s style nightgown, right? So already I've enriched the character, right? Her room, right? Gracie's always got her heads in the clouds. So her room is going to have a dreamlike quality. The bed is going to be a nice puffy mattress, right? With big pillows and with kind of like a dream-like structure. For I would have to research kind of bed heads that kind of have some kind of mysticism, that have Art Nouveau quality to them. Maybe there'll be a mirror above her bed, as if when she goes to sleep and she dreams, she enters the magic mirror, right? So already when I'm designing my background, I'm putting character into it. And then you start researching, you do a bit of production design. So already you can enrich your background. So when I was designing the cities in Alphaman, I would take the symbol. I think this is the symbol for Mercury, you know, or something, you know, something like this, right? Can't remember right now. I think it was this or something. And I would take the symbol, an alchemical symbol, right? Let's just make one up, right? Let's make an alchemical symbol up. So this is the top, right? This is let's just say this is the top. So right now I know that my building, my cityscape, right, is going to be something like this, right? And then we're going to have like a round, maybe a round, big round Blade Runner building. Maybe it's like this. And then you've got all of the skyscrapers here. Then you've got kind of like a circular building with lifts on either side, you know, like in Akira, where they're going up that lift and having that conversation, and there's all windows here. Maybe here at the very top there'll be a pyramid, right? Then round the back there'll be more curved buildings like this, here like that. Then the road around it, maybe the roads around it, like it'll be like this kind of thing. There'll be another pathway there. So we've got road around it. So you got to have some ideology thrown in, like, so here's the road, here's a zebra crossing, you know, there's another few crossings there, another road, like maybe pavements will be around there, person will be about that big, people are about that big, so the cars are going along here. So again, Kevin, look at the screen. I'm talking to you. I'm not trying to sell you that archive, right? If you don't feel that archive has got you, is gonna give you value, right? Because you've been a long supporter of mine, and maybe there are things that you want to learn from me, and there are things that you don't want to learn from me, right? That archive is a professional archive. It touches on those topics, and then you watch me storyboarding. So it is a very good archive. You watch me storyboard the entire Alphaman intro. It's extremely valuable. But if you want to play around for a bit and you want to explore those things that I've told you about, do that, all right? The archive is not running away, right? So it's more about me pointing you in the direction, right? About you've been training with me long enough to kind of know about the mentality of fundamentals. So you can theoretically take the things I'm saying here and apply the real animator mentality that you've got from many of my other archives into those fundamentals, just as Cameron did it with muscles, right? So yes, that archive will help you a lot, but please understand that it's more about you focusing on the basics than me trying to tell you, Kevin, now, there's an archive all about it. No, not at all, right? I understand some people are, particularly in this climate, perhaps a little bit low on funds. Okay, so there's things that you can do. All right, and I'm kind of sharing that with you now, but in a very obviously, the archive will do it in a better manner than this quick rush job thing. But you've been watching my videos long enough, so maybe you can garner something from this to be able to go further with it, right? So it's easy to come up with ideas for backgrounds and designs when you've got an environment design, when you've actually got environment, when you've got purpose, when you know what you're going to put in your background, right? You know what you're going to put in your background. Then you have to worry about composition. Okay, so from what point of view, low angle, high angle, okay, what would be seen in that background? That's potentially where AI could come in use, not for drawing backgrounds, but one of the things I liked in the industry was we didn't have a miniature set built. That would have been cool. But just like you have models built of the characters that the Disneys used to use, we'd often have 3D models built in the computer of characters that were used to help you visualize. So I actually, when I was designing my Alpha Man, I designed the Alpha Man spaceship props, Alpha ship. So I designed this spaceship. I've talked about this to you guys many times. I've designed this spaceship and drew these drawings, right? And that's the interior, that's the chair. So I drew all this stuff of what the spaceship looks like. And then I paid a 3D 3D viewer needs an update. That's a bit frustrating. Okay, it's downloading the update, so let's see. I paid for a 3D model to be built. There we go. Now, so here you go. So I actually paid, I don't know how, yeah, I paid somebody to build my drawing in 3D. So that would really help me visualize it. And actually, when I wanted, just like rotoscoping, Disney, like in The Rescuers, would rotoscope a model of a car for Madame Medusa, or Don Bluth would build the secret weapon in American Tail and rotoscope it because it was a complex shape. So just like animating that spaceship, I'll animate it in 3D and trace it. So that's a very useful tool. So if you basically design an environment, like from a plan point of view, this is where I could potentially see AI being useful for hand-drawn animators. So say if you say, okay, a throne room. My throne is here. There's going to be stairs here. There's going to be a carpet. There's going to be pillars here. Right? And you've got the throne designed. Okay, the throne has got like two serpents coming together. Right? Like this. And maybe it's a serpent tail, right? Maybe you've designed all the thrones and you've designed the pillars with serpents going around the pillars, and you've really spent time drawing that all out. You would then probably, if you don't pay a 3D animator, like you could maybe ask AI to build you a 3D set of your visual ideas. And then you could change and rotate the camera angle and then make your drawings. So you're not tracing it, you're not whatever, but you're using it as reference for accuracy of understanding, okay, how does it look like from a low angle? So it's a very, very useful tool to help you visualize and build that in that regard. But personally, I as of yet, somebody made a good point. I use the YouTube editor to edit my live streams. If that's AI, that's AI. Then, but personally, I don't really use, and I don't intend on using it for my own personal reasons. I'm not against it, but I'm just throwing ideas at you. If some of you want to use it for that, you can. It's good. It's probably good. Charlene, hey, how you doing, Charlene? And we got Frilled Mayfly too. I'm doing a whole bunch of things, even doing an animation of someone of their characters. Awesome. Nintendo is there as well. Black Belt Jones. You guys have come towards the end of the stream. I'm just taking questions. We were talking about pose-to-pose animation. So, Charlene and Frilled Mayfly, we have this very simple movement of a butt thrust like this. Oh, Nino has just opened the door and said, say hi to Charlene. So my wife has just said, say hi to Charlene. So, you could have came in and waved, but she doesn't want to. Yeah, she's. Oh, she says she's not. Well, I'm not going to repeat that. She's not wearing a certain piece of attire. She's fully clothed, by the way. But you know, I'm not gonna elaborate. She doesn't want to come on my live stream. Woke up to see AMB is up. Awesome, Nintendo. I think it was too quick to judge Gracie. No, it doesn't matter. Like, to be honest, if you like, Gracie Goodbear is not going to appeal to everybody, and if people who support me are not enthusiastic about Gracie Goodbear, I get it. You like my Groundhopper, you like Alpha Man, you like the other stuff you've been watching me doing. You're not going to like every Pixar film. You're not going to like every Disney film. Some things you're going to like more than others, right? Gracie Goodbear is something that I'm focusing on this thriller project at the moment. I'm going to get through it. I'll see how it goes. I'm testing it out. I'm asking for donations to help me finish this. I'm seeing how the whole thing goes. Gracie Goodbear is just another one of my IPs. It's not something that I don't expect everybody to be into it. So, getting between those two poses, we talked about how you use two extremes to make an interesting movement, Charlene and Amberly, right, or Frilled Mayfly. The guy I'm doing a little animation for is getting a few animators to do the same scene so he can see Faria's face to do the scene. He's planning on doing. No need for AI when you've got a good community. Fantastic. There you go. I wish I could find somewhere to watch Soccer 442. I want to see what AMB was capable of while standing on one leg, rubbing his belly and patting his head at the same time. Yeah, Soccer 442 is like Scooby-Doo grade animation at best. Anthony Dole's. The animation was done in China by a company called Sandman, which did the Horrid Henry series that I used to work on. And Soccer, I literally boarded the entire movie myself with very little assistance. The storyboards look great, but the storyboards were then turned into layouts, and then given to animators, and we had to literally write the actions on dope sheets. So my storyboards were like, get from pose one. Now some of my storyboards, let me show you a range of some of my storyboards. Let me find Soccer 442. I have it. Some of the stuff I'm dead proud of. They were all drawn on paper. So here's the football match. So the football match is actually really great. So these were drawn on animation paper. And unfortunately, it likes to do that. Let me put this down here like that. So you can see that I was literally designing the sets as well in my storyboard. This storyboard was also set design by me, given to the art director, right? So I'm putting these big robots on here. All in my mind, I was imagining the Iron Maiden song, The Trooper, while doing this. So these hands, these jumping down, they jump down. The crowds, their two eyes looking at each other, throwing the football, kicking the football. So the animation had to be just kind of written and described to the studio, because this was like I literally had to storyboard an entire feature film in and lay out and design the characters, design the sets in under a year. So we have like all these guys. So he comes, his shadow, he puts the ball down. A foot comes on there. He runs, he kicks the ball. This guy's running, they're running to him, they're running to him. He's looking there, he's looking there. He steps back, they hit it. He kicks it over, jumps over them. The crowd are watching. He passes the ball back. Oopsie. So he passes the ball back. He gets it. He's running, kicks the ball, does a bicycle kick. We follow the ball over the shoulder. Comes in. He headbutts the ball. The commentators go mad. He runs through. He starts butting the players out of the way. Low angle, kicks the ball. Goes in the goal, but the goalkeeper gets knocked behind the net and it's a goal. 3-1 obviously, so they're watching. He's looking. Oh, now we've got another shot here. Crazy wide shot. So done to establish the crowd. And, I'm even drawing in with a pencil and shading in the lens flare to get the mood of it. This gorilla's hair. He's standing at the edge. You see the camera pan. There's bubbling at the edge of the football match. They all scream at him. Roar. He screams at them. Roar. Then out of the back, you kind of see like they run away. He's standing there. This whole huge monster is behind him. And it comes and oh, right. So on paper, it looks great. But unfortunately, the animation, the finished result is awful, right? So here we've got the panning of the football stadium, these huge insect lights lighting up the stadium, dragonflies flying amongst them. He's running with the ball. We track in, he kicks it up. He kicks the ball there. The ball goes doof in his face. He gets stunned. And then he goes boom. We follow the ball in. It's another goal. They shout, goal, like that. So we have a game after all. He says he gets annoyed. He looks at his captain. His captain gets annoyed. Kicks the ball. He jumps up, has it on his chest, lands. He runs forward, kicks it through them, goes around the side, runs, kicks it through there, does a somersault over his head, and kicks again, bang, gets another one. Now we've got more of the environment design. That's the commentary box. So I've kind of designed the commentary box as well. And you can see the platforms of where the teams are in case anybody gets hurt. And he's standing there. He's looking up. He notices his rival standing, watching him there. So these are the managers. And he's like looking at him. He shows him his fist. Yeah, come on. So like then he throws it in there. So all those little things are added by me. They weren't in the script. Like this little moment between the two managers. It makes the action more, because you feel like this manager was really down and out, right? So you really feel you want his back, right? So you throw this in, he gets it, he kicks it up, he jumps, he headbutts it forward, he's standing there, the people in the crowd are enjoying it. He gets it, he moves forward, he falls, they're running, cross-cutting, running, he's behind him, he's tackled him, he passes the ball to him, he jumps, he rolls underneath him, He kicks the ball down to there. This guy's got it. He heads it. He's saying, "It's all yours, man. It's all yours." He goes to kick it. Bang! He gets knocked down. Like that. So then they're all shouting, "Foul, foul, foul." And he goes, "Go home and read your comics, kid." Ha 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 ha. So he gets up. You see how dodgy the script was. "Go home and read your comics, kid." But he gets a free kick. And he's like, "I haven't heard a whistle." And they're going, "Free kick, free kick, free kick, free kick, free kick." So the referee is this robot. It looks. It pans up to the other referee. And it says, "No free kick." Right? What? Come on. What? He's like, oh, she gets annoyed. Like, no free kick. And he's cheated because he's kind of bought the result beforehand. So he's there, he's happy. So then you pan into this guy. He shoots his tongue out. He grabs the ref, pulls the ref in. And they start threatening the ref. So the ref, like through his robotic eye, sees her reaction. And he says, "Okay, free kick." And he blows it. So there I've got an aerial shot, which helps the art director and helps the background. So then we've got this. They're kind of getting in on each other. So then he takes the ball, and then he has a moment. And he goes, "I'm going to take the free kick because I'm the star striker, right?" And he goes, "You're not going to take this free kick. I've got a vision." He has a vision. So in his vision mode, so like we're in his vision, he's visualizing the free kick. So he passes the ball, heads the ball, he misses it, he gets it, he kicks the ball, ball comes to the screen, we see somebody take the shot, but we don't know who it is, and it goes in and there's a goal. And he goes, the girl takes the free kick. He goes, "But she's on the bench, how can she score?" He says, "Where am I?" He says, "You got to be on the bench." So like he's like, "What? No way, man!" And they're like, "You can't do this." So they're having a word with him. "You can't. He's our star striker. He's got to take it. It's our chance to win." And she's there, and he's basically like, you can tell I designed all these characters. They're my typical style, right? I think I was 30 years old when I did this, right? So basically, then we have him basically telling them. He goes, "Okay, do it, I trust you." So she jumps down and he wishes her well. He puts the ball down, just like the vision now. The goalkeeper's kind of shouting. They're standing, he's looking at his other man there. He's looking, they look at her. Same, just like the dream, he kicks it, he jumps up. He headbutts it. He pushes him out the way. He jumps to get it. He misses it. He knees it. He does his spin kick thing. She lands on his chest. Has the ball in place. They're watching the suspense of it all. She then takes the kick. He misses it. He misses it. He misses it. Boom. 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 What's the result? The keeper's holding the ball. But he looks up. He's inside. He's behind the line. The shot was so powerful it forced him back. It's a goal. It's a goal, the winning goal. So that was an example of the Socator boards. So those were a more detailed board. But for example, here are some boards that are not as, they're really quick, like little thumbnails that I've just had to kind of sketch out. They're so tiny, I can't even blow them up. So these little these were like drawn on a sheet of A4 paper, and they're tiny. They're like that big, right? So but I had to kind of make the boards all drawn to a certain the cannon scene. This is again. So this was a big cannon that. This cannon was not in the script. I had to kind of invent it. So I designed it and I imagined the whole thing. So So this was all drawn and like storyboarded on paper, and it became, you can see, like I've kind of roughed out all these drawings. And the cannons shooting and whatever. So in my mind, I wanted this kind of art direction to look like Ryu versus Sagat in the opening of the Street Fighter cartoon. So that is, it's funny you asked me about that, Anthony. That's a kind of like little movie that I was offered to work on Tim Burton's Frankenweenie 3 times while I was on that. And I was so contemplating jumping ship, but I thought, no, you know what? On Frankenweenie, I will just be another human pencil, just kind of like earning a shit ton of money, but not really doing more than just the storyboarding aspect. This thing, working on this project where I basically designed the characters, designed the environment, storyboarded the whole thing, even helped with the edit, even did a few voices, put together a music montage using music from the Saturn game Panzer Dragoon Saga and bands like Nightwish and Iron Maiden, and Rocky style music, 80s power rock. I was able to work with although I wasn't credited as a director, personally I feel that I directed that movie. And the end result was very lame in terms of like it looks like a Ben 10 cartoon, right? Compared to like what you saw. But the whole thing was it didn't even cost $1 million to make. And it was a feature film, and it was a Chinese UK co-production, and it was made with a very, very small crew. There was me and my friend who's the art director, a couple of other people, maybe 3 other people involved. We tried to bring on other people on board, but they just brought in attitude and they were fired. But it was a fun time, Anthony. Thanks for the trip down memory lane. Let's see. So let's see what's going on in the rest of the chat. Just finished watching Mushka. I highly recommend it, AMB. Thank you. Yes, if there's one thing that does like tickle my fancy, it's Andreas Deja's work. Although I'll only really watch these things if I get the time to watch these things. I don't really have much time to watch the things that I really want to watch. When I watch things that I know my wife want to watch, and that's spending family time. So it's finding the time to watch these things. If I'm not animating and drawing, I'm working out. I've got to work out on my workout goals, and if I'm not doing that, then I've only got 5-10 minutes to spare where I'm just playing some retro game because I've got to do something dumb, because we all do. I'm departing, AMB. Have a great one. Take care. Okay, Black Belt Jones, I'll see you again sometime. I know it was a rough project for you, the director. Have you wearing? It wasn't a rough project. It's one of my favorite projects. It was rough. It was intense. But because of that project, I have moved on to such roles in the industry where I was able to kind of save projects, wear more hats, just come in and take over. Like Lego The Legends of Chima Series 1 was completely screwed. I came over and saved those guys from an animation direction point of view. Had I not had the experience of having a whole studio kind of like relying on me, which was a lot of pressure at the time, and I hated having to tell people they couldn't do the job and to fire them and all that kind of stuff. It was not pleasant, but at the same time, it kind of really, really leveled me up more so than anything else I'd ever done. And the experience was awesome. And if I had not done that project, I would not be able to help you guys the way I've helped you on my streams and with Real Animator Training. I would not be able to bring the authority. I don't know how many people have actually had that kind of diversity of lead roles that I've actually had throughout my career. It's like I'm so thankful for them. I'm doing all right. Charlene is doing well. Look forward to seeing Easter Wizzy special. That's incredible. Oh wow, you actually have all that. That's really cool. Yeah, I've still got those I've still got the pencil drawing storyboards way before anything was done on Photoshop, you know. This looks incredible. That is so cool. That reminds me of Oddworld. Foul play, very impressive. I'm into this. Well, if you're into it, it's not shit. I'm mucking around. I know what you mean. I think your archive is valuable, but at the same time, I wanted to branch out and learn elsewhere. But I think I'll start with the example for now, and maybe post some efforts in the group. You branch out, Silver Sun. As I said, you know, you gotta do your way. But I do find that the people who have stuck with my archive have really managed to really progress to certain levels, like Travis and Life Fantasy. They've really managed to really up their game. Now, Life Fantasy has dabbled a bit, so has Frilled Mayfly. And Charlene is dabbled a bit. But so, if you want to explore other things, go for it, man. You don't need to explain that to me. But I just like to remind people that consistency of the fundamentals is what's really going to help you move forward. Many people want to jump ahead and you feel you learn something, but there's a thing called psycho-cybernetics, where if it's not fully ingrained in your subconscious, you get to a level, you maybe stay at that's like somebody who loses weight and then for a few months everything's fine, and then in a few years they're back to being overweight again and out of shape because they've gone back to their default system. Because you're then dabbling with information that perhaps the foundation is not strong enough to retain, the base is not strong enough to retain what's being placed on it, and therefore the standard dips. So what AMB animation is more than anything is that strong, stern foundation for people before they, you know, to give them the strength to move forward. Too many people are trying to acquire information that they're not ready for because it's appealing, it seems a lot more fun, and it feels like you're doing something when you're doing it, but actually feeling like you're doing it and actually being able to do it are two extremely different things. Go home and be a family man, no free kick. I just wanted to bring my ideas to life, and currently I feel I have to learn more than just animation to get there. Absolutely you do. Absolutely you do. Character animation is just one aspect. So you're very right in that regard. People specialize in those fields and I'm limited on other resources to fulfill those needs, but I'll do what I can to get better at it. Just research those areas I told you about. Those are the fundamentals of filmmaking. Those things, you can go back, or you've got access to the training library. You can go and click on that training library and read each one of those lists, even though you don't have that archive, and you can say, I'll go away and research that. That's one of the those are the fundamentals of filmmaking. Michael Kilner Davis, how are you? Doing something dumb has been croquet for me. I just do the pixel art and then mindlessly copy it and stitch by stitch into croquet. That's still working. That's like me doing my working out, right? I'm working on getting a really solid handstand. I want to press the handstand. So that to me is still some kind of self-improvement and betterment, but playing video games is dumb. So, and you know, that's the kind of dumb thing I think we all need to do. I'd rather play video games than doom scroll. That's not dumb, it's good, Amberly, exactly. Hi, Silver Sun, I'm good. Okay, so we have reached the end of the chat. I'm going to leave it at that now. If you feel that stream was of any value to you and I have helped you in any way and enriched your lives, then please do consider clicking the link in the donation, in the description, and making a donation. The donation page talks about the animation I'm currently working on, but at the end of the day, it's a donation and it all helps. So if you want to donate to me just to say thank you, that's very much appreciated. It doesn't have to be in support of the project, but I will use it to help me continue with the project, because that's what I'm doing at the moment right now. But so thank you to anybody for. This is the mic we want. So in that regard, what I will say to you is, for those of you who are about to draw, I salute you. Paper is king. Keep it real. Always be real. And finally, do your work. Not just your work and no more, but that little bit more for the lavishing's sake. That little bit more that's worth all the rest. And if you doubt as you must, and if you suffer as you must, do your work. Put your heart into it, and the skies will clear. And then from your very doubt and suffering will be born the supreme joy of life. Thank you for joining me on this live stream. Live stream. I'll see you all on the next one. Bye-bye.